one of the things I kind of miss about being younger was like the enthusiasm of everything. You feel me? Like when you young, when you like 15, 16, 17, you'll get into like a whole 20, 30 minute debate about a nigga about, yo, who better between Chief Keef and Lil Durk or some shit like that. That's like more so my generation, you feel me? You was more enthusiastic about everything. Like life just felt more lifey. You was more excited about shit, the most basic shit. That's why people say you gotta have kids, because you get to relive your youth again. You get to really stop and smell the flowers, you feel me? Once you get older, shit start changing up a little bit. You're not as excited about certain things, you feel me? I miss having a debate with a nigga about, yo, what's the best cereal, nigga? Is it Apple Jacks or Fruit Loops, nigga? Like, what's better between that? I remember, like, my first fight I ever got in was me arguing with some homies in my neighborhood about who get the most girls. Like, you feel me? I was like 14, like, yo, I get more girls than you? Like, really screaming, heated, like. That's one thing about it. I think when it comes to podcasting and just in life, like the way that I'm able to stay kind of youthful and stay kind of fresh on shit like that is not only to take care of my business, but also find new interests, new hobbies and shit like that. Keep educating myself, keep growing. From that, you could find new engaging ways to really, cause you learn some new shit. You know, once you start getting stuck in your ways and shit like that, you start dying off. It's kind of like a body, like an old person. Once an old person stop moving and, you know, they in the bed, the next step is death. You feel me? Like, once you stop moving, the next step for you is death. You feel me? And it's like the same thing for your brain. Once you stop learning new things, listening to new music, going new places, traveling, you feel me? But so anyway, I'm going off in this whole diatribe. The Rory and Mal fans kind of go off on Rory and Mal saying that, yo, like, just don't feel the same. Like, these niggas, like, they not coming with the energy for the pod and all this kind of stuff like that. I'm gonna read what they said, and, you know, while I'm looking for it, I will say this, though. That has been my issue with Rory and Mal, bro. You feel me? I think they're good podcasters, but I think at the same time, they don't have the same interest in it or the same passion in it that a Joe would have or something like that. You feel me? Even, like, you know, you see Ice Ish, they do a good job, but that's one of the struggles of being a podcaster, being a content creator, is keeping it fresh, keeping it, you know, staying excited about it. Because when you record all these episodes for all these years, it gets older after a while. You feel me? Rory been doing this shit for 10 years now. Joe been doing it for 10 years. Maul been doing this shit for about 8 years now. You feel me? So it's like it gets older after a while. So you have to keep it fresh. It's the same thing as a nigga who in the gym working out. You been going to the gym for 5 years, you got to keep it fresh. So anyway, the nigga deleted his Reddit, but somebody comes on Reddit and said, they're phoning it in at this point. He says, the other day I realized this podcast has absolutely no substance or value. It's the same script every show. 3 minutes, 30 seconds of ad before they start. He kind of breaks down the ads and everything like that. And somebody says, Ethereal Machina says, if somebody forces you to watch every week, like, nigga, you don't really got to watch this shit or whatever like that. So yeah, bro pretty much going off on the ads. And Majin Go says, this is every podcast, and every podcast is lacking right now because there's nothing to talk about. Yeah, that's one weird thing when it comes to content creation and shit like that. A lot of times, yo, how do you keep fresh on topics and shit like that? How do you you know, keep everything running? And I'll say this. That's what separates the Joe Budden podcast and a lot of other podcasts from Rory and Mal. I don't know how long they shit be now, but their podcasts have historically been short. And I think for some podcasts, you can really get in your bag with that. Like, depending on what it is, it could be short and sweet. But for some podcasts, bro, nigga, your podcast shouldn't be 45 minutes, my nigga. It ain't back in the day when y'all started. Back in the day when hip-hop podcasts first started in 2015, yeah, the podcast would be like an hour and a half. Joe and them niggas came through, nigga, them shits be 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, shit done changed. So look, I'm gonna tell y'all, so we got an hour and 16 on this last joint, an hour and 30 on this joint, an hour and 45 a minute ago, hour. So it ain't really that bad. It ain't like these niggas are dropping super short podcasts. When they first came out, I feel like they joints was more so like an hour and 10. So hour 30 ain't too bad. But like you know, I'll say this, bro. I don't think these niggas are, that passionate about it. I think Rory is doing a good job. I think Maul is always going to be the consistent, ignorant Maul. But like I said, it comes down to how passionate they are about it. If you ever pay attention to Joe Budden podcast, which I don't really want to get into the bag of trying to compare this podcast to that podcast or whatever like that. But if you ever actually get into the bag and pay attention to like exactly what's being talked about and shit like that, Joe will ask them niggas every week, like, yo, what y'all been up to? And, what y'all been up to this week and what's going on? And I even heard him say on other podcasts that his vision of not on other podcasts, on other episodes, he said his vision for the podcast would be that niggas go out, live their lives, and then they bring back what they learned and just grow as a person, show that growth on the podcast, you feel me? Which that'll make it dope, you feel me? If you one of them niggas who always the same, that makes shit boring. It's even like, if you got a friend or a girl or some shit like that, if they on the same shit every year, it's just like, it's the same person I'm dealing with. Like, I probably met this person in 2023. I'm still dealing with the 2023 version of them. They haven't evolved. It ain't like they got in better shape or worse shape or got a new job or learned new hobbies or learned some new shit. They still eating the same foods. Everything's still the same, bro. And that shit can get boring for anybody, bro. People clown Joe for changing up and, he got a Rolls Royce and all this kind of shit like that. Or clown, certain hosts from how they, even when they see Mel go from being a video vixen to like on some wannabe Oprah shit. That's her evolving, and that's important, you feel me? And I think that, I think Rory evolved a little bit. I think Maul, I don't think bro evolved that much, but then again, he one of them niggas who always super stubborn, you feel me? But yeah, as far as Maul and Rory phoning, and I think them niggas are phoning in to a certain extent, but like I said, I think it's that time of year where a lot of podcasts are really phoning in, you feel me? Shit, bro, you idiots just phoning in for a second, but they kind of kept it rolling, you feel me? CL Cole says you could just not listen and stop complaining about free content. I don't know, could just be me. Majestic Mud says you miss Rory mentioned he doesn't like potting but does it because he has to. I feel like the niggas have mentioned that before. I'm also seeing a lot of the Rory and Maul fans kind of come at niggas and yo, you don't gotta watch and all this extra shit like that. Yeah, Rory definitely admitted. I'm pretty sure he admitted that he likes potting, but he's not that much into it. Same thing for Maul. Like, Maul always been one of them niggas. When you hear the Rockefeller stories and shit like that, it wasn't like he was like this big exec behind the scenes or nothing like that. You feel me? He had an older brother, and don't get it fucked up. Maul probably has some work ethic and shit like that, but Maul always seemed like one of the niggas who just was like a connection type of guy. Like even when he was cool with Julius Randle and Brandon Jennings and all, like, he was more so connected to niggas and shit like that. He don't seem like if it was up to back in the day, if it was up to Rory and Maul to grow the podcast and make it the Rory podcast or the Maul Budden podcast or some shit like that, it would have never went nowhere. Like, these niggas, not saying they not hustlers or not like that, but it ain't the same, bro. You feel me? But Digital Thugs them out. Like, comment, subscribe. I think Rory and Maul are doing their best, bro, but I do understand that these niggas are not necessarily passionate about it. And it could be difficult to be passionate about it when it's like, you've been doing this shit for 10 years. You've been doing this shit for 8 years. You've been doing this shit for 9. You've been doing this shit.